What's up? What's up? My name is Jaron Davis. As you can see, obviously, musician, attempting to play drums. And we just had a good fun day today jamming with my buddy Steve Lambert, phenomenal saxophone player. So I'm still cooling off a little bit, but it's been a fun day. Well, I started playing drums around 2 or 3 years old. I'm assuming probably 3. But I started playing in my grandfather's church. The rest was history. Of course, I didn't really know what I was doing much then, but I think that kind of benefited me because I didn't have to go through some of the coordination issues or, funky thought processes that a lot of young drummers tend to go through in their early teen years. So I am blessed to have been drumming for almost 25 years now. The most important thing that we as musicians, we should be is completely lost in the moment. It's so easy as musicians for us to overthink and think about what is it that I'm playing? Am I playing this correctly? Do people enjoy what they're hearing? But I think the more you can train your brain to completely get lost, to be in a zone, then at that point you're actually really making music. Because if you're not, you're just making exercises, or you may sound good, but you're still only a shell of what you could sound like. And I went through that, I think, in my early 20s, and maybe throughout the past couple years was when I finally trained my brain to be able to tap into that kind of outer body experience. And every once in a while now, depending on what I'm playing, I still may not completely reach that, but then I automatically try to find different ways to force myself into that zone where I can completely get lost into the music. And then at that point, I am making music at the best of my ability. As people are starting to realize, the more they hear me play, I'm kind of a chameleon. I am a firm believer in being able to play lots of different things, but also play them authentically. And so I started playing in church. So my early influence is gospel, Of course, I listened to all the gospel drum greats. Michael Williams from Commission was a early influence. My dad at home would have me playing a lot of records of his era, so classic rock and mainly straight funk. So anything between Ohio Players, which was my favorite funk band, and then I played tons and tons of Led Zeppelin and Cream records. So I guess early influences, John Bonham, all of those guys, and then the more I played, the older I got, I think my style and what I was into continuously evolved. In my senior year, I got into Rush and Dave Grohl from the Queens of the Stone Age Songs of the Deaf album. I played along to a lot of that. Then Chris Coleman with Israel, another contemporary Christian. And then from that point is where I am today, playing a lot of jazz because current influences. I did do some fusion, of course, and I had to kind of get some of the extra chops out of my playing. And then now it's pretty much your typical bebop greats, Max Roach, Philly Joe, Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, of course, Jack D, and then a couple modern guys too, like Eric Harland and Marcus Gilmore. So my approach, whether I'm just playing by myself or with a band, an ensemble, or what have you, is to be able to make music. It's so easy to play, especially to play drums and not really make music. You can play a drum solo and it doesn't really have feel behind it, just a lot of all these crazy chops, and people really, they can't feel it. And even if you're playing some type of rhythm, they can't feel it. And it used to didn't be like this for me. I used to be just a drummer. But the more I studied, the more I understood how this has to come from within. And if you play from the heart, people will be receptive to that. And so that's what I really try to do, and I try to use my ears as if I'm a harmonic player. And I don't know a lot of music theory. I mean, I've studied, I can finger around the piano a little bit, but I still try to have that musical approach as into what does the music need, which is why I don't mind potentially scaling down my kit or completely not playing at all, even if I'm at the drums. Sit out a few bars if I have to, whatever's gonna make the whole sum of the product sound like music, where people can feel it and there's a vibe and a groove to it. And I think a lot of my generation solely, being 27, there's a lot of drummers, not a lot of musicians. Now, the guys of yesteryear, all of those guys were musicians. They could all write their own music. They didn't mind sounding simple at the sake of the betterment of the whole, where now a lot of drummers feel like they need to play all this stuff over every single song so that, you know, Joe Schmo hears that song and says, man, that drummer is a killing player. Quite honestly, it just doesn't matter to me if somebody thinks I can play or not, because that's not what gets you hired as a musician. So the musicians I'm playing with, they understand what I'm serving them,